was renting a apartment with a friend, so I told him, "Hey, we already live together, right? Would you live together again in a bigger place? And instead of paying half of the rent, we'll take your rent down, right?" So he was paying $600 a month because the rent was 1,200, but my mortgage was not even 1,000. So I said, well, for $500, you get a bigger place. You don't have to park in a parking lot anymore. You have a driveway, a garage, backyard. It was a no-brainer for him, right? So he moved in, and he was paying half of the mortgage. And then I thought, wait a minute, I bought a three-bedroom ranch, right? I have one more empty bedroom. What if I was able to fill in that room with somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to find somebody. He also paid $500 a month, so I had $1,000 coming in, 981 coming out. So at that point, I had eliminated my most expensive expense at the time, which was my living expense, right? And that gave me enough confidence to quit my job, right? And I remember back when my real estate agent told me about the career, and I took a shot at it. I was able to quit my W 2 salary. No, it wasn't salary, but it was pretty much salary.
It was consistent.
Yeah, I was able to quit my W 2 job that I put in 8 years to climb to the position that I was. I was making a decent living, and I said, you know what, I don't want it anymore, right? Because long term it wasn't good for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I got into real estate, which has changed my life. And going back to that house, I had two people living in the house for 2 years with me, right? And they paid the mortgage pretty much the whole time. And from there, I used some of the rents to help fund a renovation, small renovation, very small, right? I call this a live and flip. You're flipping a house while you're living in it.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I was able to fix up the house just a little bit, and we were able to sell it. Now, remember, I lived there for 2 years, so I was able to sell it, not pay any taxes on my gains, roll that over to the next house, and basically, that was, I didn't make too much money, but it was like the proof of concept, right?
It proved to you that you could successfully make some money on a house without, having to put in hours at those jobs.
Right. The money that I made was a little bit more than half of my annual salary at the time, right? And the proof of concept was one, rent works, right? It stinks to pay it, but it's awesome to collect it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I tell everyone, get on the other side of it,
Yeah. Okay.
you know? The other thing was that you could buy something, it goes up in value, because at that time the biggest things I ever bought was cars. They always lost value, right? But then when you buy a house, it goes up in value, then you can sell it, and you can even sell it and then have your gains tax free, depending on how much it is.
Mm-hmm.
Roll that
In
over.
the primary residence. That's right.
Exactly. And then you're able to just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat until, hopefully one day you have no mortgage.
So you are on house number.
Right now, I believe I'm on house number 6, but some of these homes I did not live in, right? Like some of them was just pure investment. Um, but as far as primary residence, this is my third primary residence.
Are you managing your any investment properties yourself? Have
Yes.
you hired a
No,
property manager?
I've always managed them myself because remember I was a real estate agent. Okay. Two is I don't have a lot of rental property. Right now I'm down to one. So what I did was I liquidated one property, and that's where I had a fork in the road. Right, the textbook says leverage. You should sell one, buy two, but then it goes back to never wanting to be handcuffed to a job again. So then I sold one, and then I paid off my primary. Right, so now I'm down to one property, and the last couple of rentals I had, man, I'm gonna be honest. Right, the scary thing is what happens if the toilet breaks, right, in the middle of the night. But what I found is that toilets don't break every day. You know, my last tenant before the one that I have now, I talked to her like 3 or 4 times over the course of 2 years, right? And the one that I have now, his lease expires in April or May, and I've talked to him twice. Once was welcome in, and then the other time was it's time to service the HVAC. It was a good time to send somebody.
And the rest, everything else was just automatic.
Yeah, just get my payments in Zelle. You know, if something dramatic happens, I do have the experience of a real estate agent, but you can avoid a lot of the potential problems. One, if you have a good product, right? You should have a good house, right? The second thing is you should screen well. If you have a good tenant and you have a good product, the chances that you're going to receive all these crazy phone calls is very slim.